Right.
Finally.
Man, I've been recording this whole time.
I've been recording this whole time. Put that on a t-shirt. Never saw it.
Don't you have it on a t-shirt?
I do.
You never sell it?
No, I don't sell any of those because I don't say that anymore.
Everybody else says it for you.
Kind of. Okay, some of these tunnels
Okay, this one's not done.
So, yeah, this one's not done, for example. I'll do right across from you.
Okay.
Which pick should I use? I have 4 picks somehow.
Do you want me to set a timer?
Wait, what?
Would you like me to set a timer?
I think I have Edson's picks. I'm pretty sure that at least one of these, if not 2 of these, I think these 2 are Edson's. It's an efficiency 5. I've never had an efficiency 5 in my life, so I know that's not mine.
It just goes brah.
And then the Silk Touch pick is half broken, and I just got one. Wait, that one's efficiency 5. Okay, I don't know which ones. I've got efficiency 5 picks. Should I use them? I'm thinking I'm going to use them.
You gonna use them?
I'm going to use them.
Oh.
Okay, so I didn't send you these questions ahead of time. We're going to do video game question Q&A.
Okay.
And just mine with the questions.
Mine with the questions.
So essentially, I guess when I ask the question, answer it as long or as short as you want.
Did you want me to set a timer?
Sure. I can just watch the time, but
all right.
I'm never good at that. Oh, I don't have any. I don't have any. Do you have torches?
I have 64. You can have.
Or a wood? 64 torches would do. Oh, half stack would do.
Half stack.
Okay. Okay, so I'm kind of watching the time, but not really. Okay, so the first question. This is about video games. The whole thing is about video games. That is the topic of choice. First question is, what is your... Wait, that's not the first... Hold on. Okay, Total Pro.
Mm-hmm.
First question is, how long have you been playing video games?
Since I was about 7. Probably. I started playing Commodore games when I was a little girl.
You're answering so many questions at once.
Sorry.
That's good, though.
Okay.
Okay, so you were 7 years old. I don't remember. Like, I wasn't expecting to answer with an age.
I think I was 7. I could have been younger. I don't really remember much past that. Before that.
I'm trying to remember now, like, how old I might have been.
I do know I was very young, and we had a Commodore, and I remember we played that lawnmower game. I can't even remember. Hoover Booger. That was the game.
Hoover Booger?
Yeah, Boover. B-O-U-V-R-E-R.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was a llama, and I don't know why the llama wasn't even actually part of the game. You love mowing lawns so much, you're mowing your neighbor's lawn, and he doesn't really want you to.
Yeah, that happened to me in real life.
Really?
Honestly, it did. See, when I was a young go-getter, 12-year-old, something like that, I would mow lawns of neighbors to get some extra money on the side, just as, like, $20 here, $20 there for mowing the lawn. And one of the times I went and I mowed the neighbor's lawn, and I think it was like she might have come to my parents and stuff and was like, if he wants to, he can, wink. And so I did it, and I really, really liked that idea, and that's how it all started. And then I went over there. I remember, like, had to be weeks later, mowed the lawn again, and went up to the door and was kind of just like, hey, I mowed your lawn.
Wink.
I know that means money now. And it was just kind of like one of those, thank you.
Awkward.
So, lesson learned, always ask before you do even a nice deed. Because you might not get a tip. Don't expect tips.
Nope.
Anyway.
So how old were you?
When I had to have been at least, I'm going to say 6 years old. Because my brother, I think, was always involved. Ever since, like, the very first video game I ever played. And no, actually, I lied. I just lied to you.
Oh, no.
It wasn't 6. It was, like, 4, maybe. Because I wasn't even in, like, elementary school, kindergarten yet. So I was maybe 4 years old. It was a friend of mine. No, a daycare I was at. Because I was 4. At this daycare, the older brother, who had to have been about, I'm going to say, if I was 4, he was maybe 8. Mm-hmm. And he showed me this computer that he had set up, this
was it a
computer
Commodore?
system. I don't know what it was, honestly. I was 4 years old.
Well, it had to have been a Commodore, because back then, like, personal computers weren't really
yeah,
a
I don't
big
know
thing.
what it was. I mean, it may have been a personal computer with DOS games or something.
Yeah, it had to have been. It was probably a Commodore, because that was the first like, they tried to market it as like the first personal home computer, really.
Right. I think the games were basic, like literally basic.
Yeah, that's what the Commodore was. You had to, like, it was all DOS to get them started, and it was big. Like, I used to think that floppy disks were the big, huge disks, because when the little ones came out, they didn't flop, so they couldn't be floppy.
Right. The non-floppy ones.
The non-floppy floppies.
Right. I know exactly what you mean. Nobody else is going to have a clue.
No.
But yes, they were the 5 1/4 discs.
Yeah.
The big old.
That's the Commodore was. It was
5
like this
3/4.
white box, and you put the floppy disks in there, and you hooked it up to your TV, and yeah.
Yeah, and you had to turn the latch. Get this, people.
Yeah.
The latch. There was something on computers back then. You put in the floppy disk, and these were really floppy. Like, they flopped around. That's how they got the name. Though these days, people don't even know what a floppy disk is.
Right, it's all USB.
Right. It's all digital download now. Never mind USB.
Right.
But floppy disk, you put it into the computer, and then you had to turn this big latch, usually, most times.
To lock it in there.
To lock it in, and it made this big, like, almost a clunking noise. Kind of similar, like, when you were putting in a cartridge into an old Nintendo or something. Like, you had to, like,
yeah, like, you had to blow
it in.
I remember that when you had to, like, when you wanted to put the old Nintendo cartridges in and push them down to lock them in.
Oh, yeah. Needless to say, we've been playing video games for a long time.
Yeah.
Yes, Nintendo stories. Everybody used to blow into the cartridges. One of the best, what are they called? Those ones where teens react? I think it's Teens React. One of the best Teens React videos. You can look them up on YouTube.
Oh, my Lord.
Where they look at the NES. And just, like, trying to put it through the heads of these teens that you had to blow into the cartridge to get it to work. And they even had, like, I don't know how they did it. The game, like, wouldn't start up. And so the guy was like, take it out and blowing it. And the guy is just like, are you serious?
That works?
This is something you had to do? You had to.
Like, I remember my one friend had a NES cartridge that wouldn't work unless you, like, wiggled it around a little bit, and
unless it had a nice, decent layer of spit in it, it would not turn on.
It was like a game of chance if you could get your game to work sometimes, if they were really old games.
Yep, exactly. And then you could buy these cleaning kits that never really worked.
No. It was her Super Punch-Out, I want to say. That was the game.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember that stupid, the fat guy, you had to punch him in the belly button.
Bear hugger. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep. So the second question. It'll be a long one after all.
I know. Split it up.
What was the first video game you ever played? So you kind of answered that.
Yeah, the
Hoover Boover. Commodore.
Hoover Boover was my first video game.
The first video game I ever played was not that one that was shown to me, because I was 4 years old and I wasn't going to get to touch his computer, you know. First one I ever got to actually play cost me $0.25, and it was built into a table of a diner. And I can't believe that they don't still do this. Maybe they do some places, but they actually had arcade tables, like the cabinets, built into tables.
That is awesome. I would eat at a restaurant like that.
Built into the tables of this restaurant, and it was like a diner, with pretty decent food too. And I mean, I'd mention the chain, but only Winnipeggers would know it, I think.
We should totally, like, someday open our own chain of restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
Arcade
just
tables.
yeah, or just open an arcade.
Yeah, or that.
So anyway, the first game I ever played was Pac-Man.
Oh.
Which sounds so retro when I say it, you know? Like, I can brag that the first game I ever played was one of the first games. You know? Ooh, I played Pac-Man, you know? It's so old school sounding, you know? But it was the very first game. It cost me $0.25. The thing is that my parents never liked sitting at those tables because they had the big arcade table underneath it. There was no leg room. So you'd get into the table and like bash your knees on it. It was really bad. But fun for the kids.
I'm dealing with I've opened into a ravine and I'm dealing with a whole bunch of mobs, if you're wondering.
I wondered what the
yelping
so
was.
Often a yelp.
There's lava in this ravine too, so it's extra scary.
I just opened up into a ravine too.
We're going opposite ways.
And we are.
So what's the third question?
Third question is, what was your very first video game console?
Oh.
I don't know if I'd count the Commodore. Some people would, but I don't know.
Did you count the Atari?
I would. Which Atari?
I don't remember which one we had, but I do remember we used to play. We had the Superman game, and I thought it was the stupidest game because it was like, how is this Superman? And it was just. We also, I think, we had Ghostbusters. Was Ghostbusters on the Atari?
That was on NES.
No, I think this was an Atari game.
Are you sure?
I'm Googling now. Hold on.
The one where you ride around in the car?
Hold on.
Because I know I had a Ghostbusters one for NES. So.
Yep, there was a Ghostbusters for the Atari. I did play it.
Wow.
For the Atari 2600. Okay. That was the one I played.
I ran out of torches.
Ah. That was the game I played. I remember playing Ghostbusters. Because Ghostbusters was really big when I was growing up because movies had just come up. And my dad would tell us, because we were afraid of ghosts and stuff when we were little. And he used to tell us the Ghostbusters had come by and cleaned out the place so no ghosts could spawn.
Oh, that was nice.
Basically. I don't think he said spawn, but, you know, it's game return.
They won't spawn in.
No ghosts could ever show up because the Ghostbusters had taken care of the house.
Right. That's nice. I don't mind that.
My dad was very interesting.
Yeah, Ghostbusters was so big. I had all the action figures and even the Ghostbusters tower.
The cartoon was amazing. I remember watching that when I was a kid.
Yeah. So my first console was probably not the Atari. I owned an Atari, but it wasn't the first one. The first one I owned was the NES, for sure.
Yeah, I remember when we got one of those.
And my family wasn't very well off. Still aren't very well off, but we weren't very well off. And what happened was we got the NES. Like, when we got it, the SNES was already out, basically.
Oh, wow.
I think. Or, like, about to release. Like, we had the NES for maybe a few months, and then the SNES came out. I can only imagine how my parents must have felt when their children who just got this NES and probably cost them, you know, enough money in the day, let's say $100, and then like a few months later we're whining that we can't get the SNES type of thing.
See, I don't remember my mom actually buying the NES. I think I went over to my friend's house and used theirs because she was too poor when it came out, so we didn't ever get it. But I think we got the Super Nintendo when that came out.
Right. For me, I don't even know if they got the NES new, because we never had the new box for it. Like, now that I'm thinking back, I don't ever remember seeing the box. They might have just thrown it out, but
yeah, we just skipped over it and went straight to the NES.
Used. I know that the SNES and Sega Genesis I got were both.
We didn't get a Sega.
They were both used. And here's the weird thing, is that we got them on the exact same day.
Yeah, that was totally used then.
Yeah. Well, we knew it was.
But it didn't matter. If it worked, you didn't care.
Right. My dad and me went to a pawn shop specifically to find an NES. Because that was going to be our present for the family type of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And unbeknownst to us, my sister and brother, older sister, and a younger brother, went to the store and bought a Sega Genesis. So I was like, I got home, and here I just have this SNES, this console that we've been waiting so long for. And I walk in through the back door because I was going to be all stealthy and like surprise my brother with it. And I see him with the TV pulled like out of the living room and like was in this bigger room that we had. Not, I guess it was the living room, but we never used the living room as a living room, if you know what I mean. He had pulled the TV into the living room from this little bedroom that we were using as a TV room type of thing. And hooked up to the TV was this Sega Genesis.
Oh my lord.
And so I walk in holding this SNES, and there's my brother already like playing this Sega, like all showing off. And we kind of just looked at each other at that moment, was like, what? So I guess what had happened is they had decided that they were going to buy one or the other. And
well, luckily they didn't buy an SNES too.
Right. There was some kind of communication problem, and they ended up, we bought both. Both were used.
Then you were in gamer heaven.
Yeah, both were used, but it's kind of good that we bought both too, because I think I played the SNES 100,000 times more than the Genesis. But played Jurassic Park on the Genesis, which was nice. Okay, next question.
Okay.
What's your favorite game genre?
I like the turn-based RPGs, like the Final Fantasy. I was just basically, that was my first favorite game that I remember playing was the Final Fantasy II. I don't know what it was in Japan. That was the one with, I think it's Final Fantasy IV here.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, that was my favorite one. I remember playing that over and over again and driving everybody in my house crazy. Even though I knew how the story was going to play out every single time, I still loved it.
I actually honestly have the Final Fantasy IV soundtrack play during my live streams. It's on my playlist for live streams.
It's one of the best games.
It's
like
my favorite soundtrack of all time, I think, in any video game.
Close runner-up has to be...
But
close runner-up had to have been the Final Fantasy III, which was 6 in Japan, the one with Terra and the Espers. I used to actually, like, when I played the game, my sister was really little, and she couldn't read, so what I would do is I would voice act what I was playing, and she'd just sit there and, like, listen to me and watch me play. Right. And she just thought it was the coolest thing ever, because I would voice act all these characters.
You were a Let's Player even back then.
I was!
Yep.
And she loved it, and I don't think she even remembers, but...
Oops. Oh, that's okay. Just hit diamonds with a silk touch. That's okay.
I had this Kafka voice that was so high-pitched and whiny, and it was great.
That sounds like it would be him.
Yeah. I can't even remember how it went, but I don't think I could do it again.
Try to have your little kid voice.
I know, my little tiny voice. My little Frost.
Oh, my God.
I can't believe you guys, like, freaked out as much when I did that.
It's just completely different. It sounds different. My favorite genre is probably FPS still.
First person. Well, you're good at them. I've never been very good at them. I kind of panic under pressure like that. That's why I like the turn-based. I get time to like think about my move.
Like I don't play a lot of FPS games, first-person shooter games these days, but like
you're good at reaction.
I broke my teeth on them basically. Like
no, but you really are good at the reaction part of gaming.
Yeah,
where, like,
I guess I built good gaming reflexes with FPS games, and I learned how to program video games with FPS games, and it's just I have this huge history with them that, you know, I love them still to this day.
I've never been really good at them. I cannot. If something is thrown at me, I freak out, and then and then die.
Right. And then die.
And then die. And then it's not fun. And so I love that's what I like about the first person turn-based, or not the first person, the turn-based games, because I got time, you know, before they do anything.
Did we answer this one? What's your favorite game of all time? Was that Final Fantasy or?
Oh no, that was my favorite genre, the turn-based RPGs. Oh, my favorite game of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's really tough because I have like really short attention span.
There's never a game that you really
like
loved?
A game that just that I loved, that I was so into.
Yeah.
I want to say like Final Fantasy X. And I'm going right back to Final Fantasy. I love Final Fantasy VII, and that will always stick with me because it's a classic and it was amazing. But Final Fantasy X, I cried at the end, okay?
Right.
It was so sad at the very end that I cried.
Final Fantasy X, that's actually
this one with Titus and Yuna.
Yeah.
And Titus ended up.
10-2 came out. Did you like 10-2?
I sort of liked it, but then I was like, this is like for girls. I'm gonna change my job, but then again, it goes back to the old like Final Fantasy, that one where they all changed jobs with their clothes and stuff, but it was all girly. And
let's see. My favorite game of all time. It's a split. I've said this for years. My favorite game of all time is a split between Wolfenstein 3D in 1992, which again, same for the reason I love FPS games. It was also, some people know this fact, the very first game I ever did a Let's Play of. And I still have the footage on my channel somewhere. Privated.
Aw.
But yeah, I think one of the videos was up for almost a year, and it still only has like 36 views. So really nobody ever looking back at that far in my channel, I guess. Anyway, Wolfenstein 3D, and the other one is Pokemon Red and Blue. The original Red and Blue.
I love Pokemon, but it was one of those games I've never really finished.
I obsessed over that game. Which leads me, segue, into the next question. Did you ever obsess over any video game?
I did. Like I said, I obsessed, like when 10.2 was going to come out, I probably did so much like looking at videos for it online, and when the music videos came out before the actual game did, even though I didn't understand what she was singing, I was like so obsessed. I'd play the songs over and over again, and then the game came out and I was like, this is lame. But I did finish it. Just because I had to. And then I was happy because then for no reason Titus came back to life, which I still don't understand until this day.
So you kind of answered the next question.
You gotta answer it though.
Well, I did.
Oh, Pokemon.
Pokemon, yeah. I obsessed over Pokemon and Final Fantasy VII.
I did.
Final Fantasy VII was the only game I skipped school to play. Like, I remember actually skipping school, pretending I was sick or doing whatever I could to stay home and play Final Fantasy VII.
Really?
Yeah. No other game, I think, past or future, did I do that. Like, looking into school since then, I never skipped a day of school to play a video game except for Final Fantasy VII that one time. So, I mean, that's how obsessed I was with it.
I don't think I've gotten really obsessed with gaming until MMOs became a really big thing. Like, seriously, I was so into the ability that you could talk to people, you know? It was just, I remember my first one was Ultima Online.
Right, yep.
And I was just so in awe of the fact that you could play with people that weren't even necessarily in the same country as you.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Ultima was kind of the precursor to, like, World of Warcraft.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, before that, way before.
Way before it.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when City of Heroes came out, and I was like, wow, this is amazing graphics. And
yeah, City of Heroes. So you kind of answered this one.
I'm answering all the questions before you ask them.
You kind of answered this one before because you just kind of hinted at it with Final Fantasy X-2. But do you prefer playing a girl character or a boy character in a video game?
I always like playing girl characters. Like,
even
Beth
though you don't like a girly video game.
No, but I mean, I like the option to play a girl. Like, I used to play this I used to be big into wrestling, which is really weird. But I used to love it. I used to like playing this wrestling game, and it allowed you the option to make a girl wrestler and do the storyline. However, the storyline still acted like you were a guy, even though you were female. Like Stacy Keebler started hitting on me, and I'm like, this is wrong in so many ways.
Right.
And it was just, I like playing a girl, but a lot of games just don't offer you that option.
Yeah, I get that.
Like Beth and I were just talking. I actually have, I found out I have the Stick of Truth in my Steam inventory, and I was like, oh, when did that happen? And Beth is like, I was playing it. She's like, but you can't be a girl. So I stopped. So we like playing girl characters. I don't know why.
You can design your character, but you can't design a girl character? Really?
No, they're still technically a boy.
Huh.
I guess because all the South Park kids, the main characters are boys.
I guess so.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I actually like playing as a girl character often.
Most guys do.
It's not like I prefer it. But I also like the choice being there. And there's like, for example, in The Long Dark, there's just something about playing as a girl character that, to me, the experience seems a little bit more, I don't know. I don't know what the right word for it is, but there's something cool about kicking butt as a girl. This tiny girl wielding a massive sword type of thing, you know? I don't know. There's just something funny about that.
Most guys like playing girls' characters because they say
kind of stuff.
They like looking. If I'm going to look at a character, they're like, I want to look at something that's pleasing to the eye, and I'm like, well, I don't make a guy character. It's just, woo,